My wife locked me out of my own house in the middle of a blizzard and laughed. Her whole family watched me freeze. 3 days later, I stopped being the quiet husband. I stopped being useful. I stopped being theirs. Now they're all out and have only just begun. My wife and her family literally locked me out of our own house during a snowstorm, and they were laughing at me through the damn window. One of them even shouted, "Freeze to death, worthless idiot." I was so angry I couldn't even speak. I just turned around and walked away without saying a word. 3 days later, I opened my inbox to find 55 messages, all desperate, begging me to come back. You ever have one of those moments where the truth just smacks you in the face? Like, you suddenly realize your entire marriage has been a complete farce? For me, it wasn't catching her texting someone behind my back or finding a stray lipstick mark on my shirt. No, it was standing outside my own home in -13-degree weather, snow piled halfway up my legs, and watching my wife of 4 years high for her brother while I begged to be let in. That's when it hit me. I'm 35 years old. My name's Caleb. And I've been married to Sabrina, who's 31, for a little over 4 years now. The beginning wasn't bad, honestly. The first couple of years were decent, not perfect, sure, but what marriage is. Things started going downhill when her parents' lease ended and they asked to stay with us just for a couple weeks. That was a year and a half ago. Since then, it's been a slow, steady descent into madness. It started with small annoyances. Her mom taking it upon herself to reorganize our kitchen without saying a word. Her dad tossing unsolicited opinions about our spending habits like confetti. Then, 3 months ago, her younger brother Tyler, who's 28, lost his roommate situation and decided to move in too. So now, our 3-bedroom home had 5 full-grown adults under one roof. And somehow I ended up being the one who didn't belong in my own damn house. I brought it up to Sabrina more than once. Each time, the conversation spiraled into tears, guilt-tripping, and that classic "they're my family" defense. Eventually, I stopped bothering. I either hid out in the garage or picked up extra work shifts just to catch a breath of peace. Not exactly a textbook example of healthy coping, I'll admit, but hey, hindsight's 20/20. Right? Anyway, last Thursday is when everything finally blew up. We got slammed by a brutal blizzard, the kind where the news stations practically beg you not to go outside unless you have a death wish. I'd picked up a late shift that day, partly for the extra money, but mostly to avoid their weekly game night, which was just an inside joke fest I never got to be part of. My shift wrapped up around 11 p.m. and the roads were a mess. What should have been a 25-minute drive ended up taking nearly an hour. When I finally pulled up to the house, bone-tired and half-frozen, I noticed all the lights were still on, even though it was pushing midnight. Strange, but I didn't think much of it. I trudged through the snow up to the front door. I pulled out my key. It didn't work. I tried again, nothing. Checked the address, checked the key, yep, right house. I knocked. No answer. Knocked louder. Finally, I saw a shape move behind the frosted window. The porch light flicked on, and there was Sabrina looking right at me. I felt a flicker of relief until I saw her face. She wasn't worried. She wasn't concerned. She looked entertained. Like she was watching something funny. I gestured for her to open the door. She just shook her head. I was confused as hell, so I called her. She picked up the phone but didn't say a word. "Sabrina, the door's locked. My key's not working. Can you let me in? It's freezing out here." "Yeah, about that," she said, all casual like she was reading off a grocery list. "We changed the locks today." "You, what? Why the hell would you do that without telling me?" I asked. "Tyler thought it'd be funny," she said. I just stood there, staring through the glass, waiting for her to laugh or say she was joking. But she didn't. She was dead serious. "Sabrina, it's -15 outside and the snow's almost to my knees," I said. "Open the damn door." That's when Tyler showed up beside her, holding a beer like it was a party. He had this smug grin on his face like he was watching stand-up comedy. "Sorry, bro," he shouted through the window. "No losers allowed tonight. House meeting. Family only." I just stood there stunned. I looked back at Sabrina, expecting her to step in and tell him to knock it off. But instead, she started laughing. Her parents came up behind them, both looking amused as hell. Her dad raised his wine glass at me through the window in some kind of fake toast. My hands were shaking, partly from the cold, partly from pure rage. "Sabrina," I said, my voice trembling, "this isn't funny. Open the door." "Maybe you should go stay with one of your friends," she said, like she was reminding me to take the trash out. "We're having a family discussion about the living situation." "I am family," I snapped. "I'm your husband. And this is my house too." That's when Tyler leaned in, fogging up the window with his breath, and said the words that I'll probably hear in my head for the rest of my life: "Freeze to death, worthless idiot." "And Sabrina?" She didn't flinch. She didn't defend me. She just nodded and laughed. Then she high-fived him. Like that was the punchline to some sick joke. I stood there another 30 seconds or so, my phone battery dying at 2%, my gas tank almost empty, the storm howling all around me. Something inside me cracked, or maybe it finally snapped into place. I don't know. I didn't yell. I didn't bang on the door. I just turned around, walked back to my car, and left. My phone died before I could call for help. The roads were getting worse by the minute. Somehow, I made it to this 24-hour diner that still had lights on, and I sat there for hours, drinking bad coffee and using their landline to call my buddy Jordan. He didn't ask questions. Just said, "Yeah, man. Come over. I got you." I crashed at Jordan's for the next 3 days, completely off the grid. No social media, no texts, no contact. I needed space. Time to think. To wrap my head around what the hell had just happened. Sunday night, I finally charged up my old phone. And there they were, 47 messages. I'm not even exaggerating. 47 separate texts, voicemails, DMs across every app I'd ever used. The first ones were pissed off. "Real mature, Caleb. Stop being so dramatic and come home. Mom and Dad say you're overreacting." Then came the concerned ones. "Where are you staying? Just let us know you're okay." And finally, pure panic. "Caleb, this isn't funny anymore. We've called everyone. Please respond." By the end, they were full on begging. "Please come home. I'm so sorry. We didn't mean it. Tyler feels awful. Everyone's worried sick." My personal favorite? A message from Sabrina's mom: "We never expected you to actually leave. Please come back so we can talk this through as a family." As a family. The same family that laughed while I froze outside in a blizzard. I've never been the kind of guy who makes a big scene or throws tantrums. I've always been the one who bites his tongue, keeps the peace. The guy who let his in-laws move in and slowly take over his home for a year and a half without ever raising his voice. But something shifted that night. Out there in the snow. Watching my own wife laugh at me through that window, that image just burned itself into my brain. I didn't lash out. I didn't send some long rant. I just shot Sabrina one short text: "We need to talk." I told her to meet me at Starbucks the next day at noon. And I made it clear, come alone. I'd spent the last 3 days doing nothing but thinking. Thinking about what I wanted to say. About what needed to happen next. About how I couldn't keep pretending this marriage was anything other than what it really was. And somewhere in all that quiet reflection, I realized something big. Revenge isn't about blowing up in anger. It's about being methodical. Revenge, at least the kind that lasts, isn't cold, it's calculated. Update 1. Okay, first off, holy crap. I did not expect my story to blow up like that. My phone was practically catching fire with notifications. I just want to say thank you. Seriously. Reading through all your messages and advice helped me feel like I wasn't losing my damn mind. A ton of people asked what happened at that Starbucks meetup. And also what went down during the 3 days I was totally off the grid. So here's the update I promised. That night, when I walked away from the house, the only thought in my head was simple: don't let them see you break. That was it. I sat in my car for maybe 15 minutes, the heater blasting, my hands wrapped around the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles were turning white. I didn't cry. Didn't scream. Didn't even punch the dashboard. I just existed. Completely numb. The roads were a nightmare. I mean, cars abandoned in ditches, whiteout conditions, real end-of-the-world kind of stuff. But I managed to find a 24-hour diner, Mel's. Somehow they still had power. The place was nearly empty, just 2 long-haul truckers nursing plates of bacon and a waitress who looked like she hadn't slept in a week. I slid into a corner booth and ordered a coffee. Just sat there, trying to process what had just happened to me. My phone gave up the ghost around 1 a.m. and honestly, it was a blessing. I didn't want to see whatever garbage Sabrina or her family might have been blowing up my phone with. I just kept sipping that same mug of coffee for hours, zoned out, while the waitress, her name was Marla by the way, absolute legend, kept topping off my cup without charging me a dime. When the sun finally came up, I used the diner's landline to call my buddy Jordan. We hadn't talked much lately, not since Sabrina's family moved in. They always made it a point to say Jordan had bad energy after he called them out at my birthday dinner for hijacking every conversation. But Jordan didn't hesitate. As soon as I called, he said, "Get your ass over here. Doors unlocked. I'll make breakfast." That's when things got serious. During those 3 days at Jordan's, I got 3 major things done. First, I bought a new phone with a brand new number. I kept the old one off most of the time, just turning it on occasionally to peek at the messages pouring in. But I didn't answer a single one. I didn't even bring my charger, so I had to ration the battery. Second, I checked our joint bank account and yeah, that was a punch to the gut. The balance? $299. That account had over $7,000 in it the last time I checked, which was maybe 2 months ago. I dug through the transaction history. Sure enough, Sabrina had been quietly siphoning off cash into an account I didn't recognize. Altogether, about $6,500 had vanished. Third, I went down to our bank in person and accessed our safety deposit box. I'd been smart enough to store our important documents there before her family moved in, things like my birth certificate, car title, and some other paperwork they couldn't mess with. I gathered everything I could. Jordan was a damn rock through all of it. Let me crash on his couch, listened to me go off more than once, even lent me some clothes because all I had were the ones I got locked out in. I owe that guy more than I can say. On day 2, I stopped by work to have a quiet word with HR. Not because I wanted sympathy, I just wanted to make sure Sabrina or her family wouldn't be able to cause problems for me there. My manager, Eric, shocked me by being incredibly chill about the whole thing. Turns out his sister went through something similar. He even had security make a note to alert him if anyone came around looking for me. I also met with a financial advisor that day. Spent some money I didn't really have just to sit down with someone who could help me figure out how to untangle our finances. It wasn't cheap, but man, it was worth it just to breathe easier. By the third day, I finally powered up the old phone to see what kind of chaos was brewing. And wow, the messages. Just, wow. Here's a quick timeline because it honestly reads like a psychological thriller. Friday, 9:43 a.m. Sabrina, very mature, Caleb. When are you planning to come home? 11:27 a.m. Sabrina again. Mom and Dad think you're being ridiculous. Tyler says he was just joking. 2:16 p.m. Sabrina's mom, Caleb, this behavior is unacceptable. Sabrina's very upset. Then things took a turn. 6:32 p.m. Sabrina, where are you staying? Please just let me know you're okay. 7:14 p.m. Sabrina again. I called Jordan, but he said he hasn't heard from you. Just text back. 8:45 p.m. Sabrina, your job said you called in. So at least I know you're alive. By Saturday morning, the panic was setting in. 7:24 a.m. Sabrina, Caleb, please answer. This isn't funny anymore. 7:25 a.m. Sabrina again, I'm worried something happened to you. 8:26 a.m. Her dad, son, we need to talk about what happened. The silent treatment isn't helping. 9:51 a.m. Tyler, hey man, I was just messing around. Didn't mean anything by it. Come home so we can talk. Then came the most interesting message. 2:33 p.m. Sabrina, we filed a missing person report, but the police said since you called work, they can't do anything. Please just come home. 3:30 p.m. Sabrina, your sister called me asking where you were. Did you tell her what happened? Fun fact, I didn't. But my sister Linda? She's never bought into Sabrina's BS. She's seen through it since day one. By Sunday, the messages were coming in like clockwork, every hour more desperate than the last. 8:24 a.m. Sabrina, please come home. I'm sorry. We were just joking. 10:40 a.m. Sunday, her mom, Caleb, we never meant for you to actually leave. Please come back so we can talk this through as a family. 11:27 a.m. Sunday, Sabrina, I love you. Please come back. I'll make this right. That was the last message I got from Tyler. It came through Sunday morning at 11:45 a.m. Dude, everyone's freaking out. Just let us know you're okay. I'm sorry about what I said. But the one that really stuck was Sabrina's. 2:17 p.m. Please, I'll do anything. Just come home. That's when I finally broke the silence and sent her a message back, the Starbucks one. Told her we needed to talk. Told her to meet me there at noon the next day. Alone. And there was a reason I said alone. I needed to talk to my wife, not put on a show for her whole entourage. So, of course, what does she do? She shows up with the full damn cast of characters, her parents, Tyler, the whole dysfunctional squad. When I walked into the Starbucks and saw them all sitting there like it was some kind of intervention, I almost turned right around and walked out. But I didn't. I stayed calm. I sat down, looked Sabrina dead in the eyes, and said flat out, we agreed you'd come alone. Cue the waterworks. She immediately started crying, saying she was scared, that she needed support. Her mom chimed in right after, all wide-eyed concern, saying they were just worried about me and wanted to help. I didn't take the bait. I kept my voice steady and asked one question, just one. Where did the $6,500 from our joint account go? You should have seen their faces. Absolutely priceless. Sabrina stumbled over her words, mumbling something about family emergencies. Her dad tried to steer the conversation away. And then Tyler, this guy, had the nerve to accuse me of being selfish. Said I was obsessed with money during a time like this. That's when I pulled out the printed bank statements. Line after line showing the slow drain from our account into some mystery destination. I asked again, louder this time, "Where's the money, Sabrina?" That's when she broke. She admitted that her parents had been in serious financial trouble. Some shady investment deal went south, and instead of talking to me about it, she just quietly funneled money to them. Because, in her words, she knew I'd be judgmental. Then her dad got defensive. Said I should be thankful they were even living with us, that their expertise and connections were helping secure our future. Expertise? The man can't figure out how to stream a movie without calling for backup. What connections? Still, I didn't raise my voice. Didn't cause a scene. I just pulled out a folded piece of paper and slid it across the table. 3 simple conditions. Return the full $6,500 within 48 hours. Every single one of them moves out within a week. Sabrina agrees to start couples counseling if she wants even a sliver of a chance at salvaging this marriage. Her mother straight up laughed. "We're not going anywhere," she said. "That house is as much ours as yours now." That's when I dropped the hammer. I pulled out my phone and played the video I recorded that night, the final minute before my phone died. Crystal clear audio. Tyler's voice saying, "Freeze to death, worthless idiot." Sabrina's laughter following right behind. I looked at them and spoke calmly even as my heart was pounding. I told them if the money wasn't returned and if they didn't vacate the house, that video was going to every family member, every friend, and to Sabrina's job. I also casually mentioned that I'd already spoken with a lawyer, technically a bluff, but they didn't know that about financial theft and what the legal implications were of locking someone out in sub-zero temperatures during a declared state of emergency. The air in that Starbucks turned ice cold. Sabrina was sobbing. Her mom looked like she wanted to throw something. Her dad went pale. Tyler? He just stared into his coffee cup like it held the secrets to the universe. I stood up, told Sabrina she had until the end of the day to give me her answer, and walked out. That was yesterday. This morning I checked my account. Boom, $6,500 back where it belonged. Got a message from Sabrina too. Said her family would be moved out by Friday and asked if we could meet in private to talk things over. I haven't responded yet. Still deciding what I want to do. But I did reach out to Sabrina's Aunt Linda, yeah, that Linda, the one everyone in her family avoids like the plague. Turns out she's been pushed out years ago for calling out the same kind of crap I'm dealing with now. She's been filling me in on the family's long history of manipulation and shady behavior. And let me tell you, what I've been through is just scratching the surface. There's more to come, especially regarding the marriage itself. But this post is long enough already. I'll update again after Friday once I see if they actually stick to their word and leave. One thing's for sure though, I'm not the same guy I used to be. The guy who stood quietly in the background, trying to keep the peace. That guy? He froze out there in the snowstorm. The version of me that walked away? He's someone else entirely. Final update for now. When I finally walked back into my house last Friday, the first thing I noticed? They'd rearranged the entire living room. Like, who does that? You're leaving a house you were just told to vacate and your final move is feng shui out of spite? The couch was shoved up against a different wall, the TV stand was angled like they just gave up midway through, and my favorite recliner, yeah, the one Sabrina always hated, was banished to the far corner like it had committed a crime. It was so petty it almost made me laugh. Actually, it did make me laugh. First real laugh I'd had in weeks. Seriously, thank you to everyone who's followed my story and sent support. Reading your comments felt like having a crowd of people in my corner when I didn't have that in real life. Anyway, things only got weirder from there. Sabrina and her family actually moved out on Thursday, a full day ahead of schedule. Which, knowing them, was super suspicious. These are people who'd show up late to their own funerals and ask for an extension. Just to be safe, I had Jordan swing by with me when I checked the house. It wasn't wrecked or anything, but it was off. Like they'd left behind breadcrumbs of bitterness. The thermostat? Set to 53. Sabrina knows I keep it at 56. All the family photos? Still there except the wedding ones. My PlayStation? Still hooked up, but every single saved game was wiped clean. Petty. Beyond petty. They emptied the fridge completely, not even ketchup or mustard left. Every single light bulb had been swapped out with those blinding white LEDs I hate. Nothing illegal, nothing worth calling the cops over, but it was like they left a dozen little "screw you" notes around the house. Just in silence. The strangest bit? Sitting on the kitchen counter was a letter from Sabrina. Not a heartfelt apology. Not a goodbye. Nope. It was a bill. She'd itemized 5 years' worth of shared household expenses and said we were now even for the $6,500. I actually took a picture of it and tossed it on my Instagram story. The comments were unreal. People thought it was a parody. After that, I texted her, told her to meet me at the local park. Neutral ground. Public spot. No way she'd try to pull another family reunion on me there. She agreed right away. No hesitation. Said yes to the park meetup like she'd been waiting for it. When I saw her, she looked different. And not just in a tired, stressed out kind of way. It was like someone had let the air out of her. She looked smaller, deflated. She started crying before I'd even sat down on the bench. But this time, I didn't feel a thing. Funny how that works. There was a time when Sabrina crying would have turned me into a human apology machine. Didn't matter if I was the one hurt, I'd be the one saying sorry just to make the tears stop. But now, I just waited. Sat there quietly while she got herself together. And when she finally did, we talked. Surprisingly calm, actually. She admitted a lot. Said her family had been controlling her for years, but also that she let them. The money she funneled from our account? Turned out her parents got suckered into some sketchy crypto investment. It flopped hard. They'd been leaning on her ever since, guilt-tripping her nonstop. Telling her they'd moved in to help us and we owed it to them to return the favor. The night they locked me out? That was Tyler's idea of a loyalty test. Yeah, you heard me. A loyalty test. He told her I was too independent, that I didn't respect the family hierarchy. That word still makes my skin crawl. What is this, some mafia movie? Apparently, the whole lock-changing thing was supposed to be temporary, just a way to teach me a lesson about falling in line. Sabrina claimed she never thought they'd actually leave me out there all night, especially not during a storm like that. She said they argued after I drove off, but that she didn't have the spine to stand up to them when it counted. Then I asked the question that had been stuck in my throat since all this started. Was any of this marriage real? Or was I just the guy with the roof and the checking account? She didn't lie. I'll give her that. She said she did love me, but also admitted she picked me because I was dependable. Safe. Easy to sway. Her exact words? I knew you'd never say no to me if I cried enough. That one hit harder than the snowstorm ever did. I told her I wanted a divorce. She didn't protest. Just looked at me and quietly asked if there was anything she could do to change my mind. I said no. And here's where the story takes a turn. Remember Sabrina's Aunt Linda? The one I mentioned, the family black sheep? Well, turns out she got shoved out of the family years ago for standing her ground. She refused to let Sabrina's parents control her money, her life, or her choices. The same exact reasons they tried to bulldoze me. I'd only met Linda once at our wedding, and Sabrina's parents made damn sure we didn't talk for more than a couple of minutes. But during my little disappearance, I'd looked her up on Facebook and sent her a message. She responded right away. And what she told me? It was like reading a script of my life. Financial manipulation. Emotional blackmail. Power games masked as family unity. Everything I'd been through, Linda had gone through, too. And she had a brilliant idea. Crash the monthly family dinner. Confront them all, face to face. She'd been reconnecting with a few extended family members who were tired of being pushed around by Sabrina's parents but had been too scared to say anything. So last Sunday we did exactly that. Linda and I walked into Sabrina's grandparents' house during their big family dinner. No warning. Just walked right in. You should have seen their faces. Sabrina's mom actually choked on her wine. Her dad turned ghost white. Tyler tried to bolt, but his girlfriend, who I'd always kind of liked, grabbed his arm and told him to sit his ass down. I didn't raise my voice. Didn't throw accusations. I just laid everything out. The lockout. The drained bank account. The pattern of control. Then I pulled out my phone and played the video. The one with Tyler calling me a worthless idiot while Sabrina laughed. Then it was Linda's turn. She stood up and told her story, almost a carbon copy of mine, just years earlier. The extended family sat there stunned. They had no clue. Sabrina's grandparents looked heartbroken. Her cousins were glued to their phones, probably updating the family group chat in real time. Then her Uncle Martin stood up. Said he'd been treated the same way once, years ago, but thought he was the only one. One by one, people started sharing their stories. Like dominoes falling. It was wild. Years of resentment and pain came pouring out in that dining room. And then, the cherry on top, Tyler cracked. He finally admitted the whole thing. Said locking me out had been planned, that it was meant to drive me away for good. His girlfriend dumped him on the spot. Asked if she could hitch a ride home with me and Linda. We said absolutely. Sabrina's parents tried to pull the strings again. Her dad stood up, shouting about how I was the manipulator, how I was twisting everything. Nobody listened. Her mom tried to shift the blame to Sabrina, said she should have handled things better. But that backfired hard when Sabrina finally stood up for herself. She told them she was done, that she'd lost her husband because of their constant interference. Then she picked up her phone, tossed it at her dad, and said she was blocking them all until they got help. I didn't stick around much longer. Said what I came to say. Helped Linda reconnect with the family that actually cared about her. And I walked out with my head high. That was 2 weeks ago. Since then, divorce papers filed. Sabrina didn't fight it. I've started completely reworking the house. New paint, different layout. And the best part? I adopted a dog from the shelter. A laid-back pit mix named Banjo who's already claimed my recliner as his throne. Sabrina's parents skipped town. Word is they're visiting relatives, which is code for hiding from the fallout. Tyler got fired, totally unrelated, but man, it felt like karma clocked in. Linda and I have become good friends. She's been a rock through all of this. I've reconnected with old friends, people Sabrina's family subtly pushed away over the years. And oddly enough, I feel lighter. Freer. Sabrina stopped by yesterday to pick up the last of her stuff. She seemed different. Like the version of her I might have met if her parents hadn't wrapped their claws around her life. She told me she'd started therapy. Said she was staying with her cousin for now. She apologized again, not to win me back, just because she meant it. And for a split second I wondered what could have been if she'd found that strength years ago. But the moment passed. Some bridges aren't meant to be rebuilt. Some bridges should stay ash. It's been exactly 1 month since I stood outside in that snowstorm, watching the woman I loved laugh at me through a window. My life now? It's unrecognizable. Not perfect, my sink leaks, and I still haven't figured out how to cook without setting off the smoke alarm. But the thing is, it's mine again. And for the first time in a long time, I'm actually excited to see where this life takes me.